Welcome to a brand new season of Industry Leaders. You'll meet people with real passion who through dedication and hard work became our industry leaders. They'll share their inspirational stories of resilience and hope as they advance their chosen industry. On this episode, we'll meet a multi-award-winning electronics and software consultancy, a highly driven, optimistic and passionate property expert, plus proud unsung business heroes. But first, meet Future Fit-Out's co-founders Lauren and Aaron Lowe, who met on an online dating app and aim to transform your commercial space. Industry Leaders, brought to you by Annex Media.
I was born in Sydney. I was about 8 years old when I moved to Brisbane. I grew up on the north side of Brisbane with my parents and my younger sister. I was schooled at a local state school and then went to university in Brisbane.
As a child, I grew up in Brisbane, on the south side of Brisbane. I've been here my whole life. I've loved woodwork at school. That's probably one of the reasons I got into this industry and started carpentry as well. I just loved starting with nothing and building from that into something.
Aaron and I met on an online dating application, and my first question to him was, "What do you do?" And he wrote back, "I'm a carpenter." And I said, "Oh, is it your own business or do you work for someone?" And he wrote back, "I have my own business," but at that stage he literally just registered the company name and that's all it was doing.
One day with a couple of my mates and talking to them while we're out there and said, I really want to meet a girl that has these passions, the same as me. Property, business, invest in property, not crazy. Within probably a few weeks after that, Lauren and I met up and she was that exact same person.
So Aaron was at me to quit my job from day one, from when we first met. Quit your job and come in and work in the business. And I said to him, I'm not prepared to quit my job for a boyfriend. When there's a ring on the finger, we might have this discussion again. And fast forward, we got the business coach, fast forward and probably about 6 months. And when Aaron got down on one knee, it was with the question, will you now come and work in the business full time? Well, of course I said yes, but I had to clarify, are you asking me to marry you or are you just asking for a business partner? Then he asked the will you marry me question.
Future Fit-Outs started in 2010. So our point of difference in the market, what I believe, is that we're basically a construction company that cares. We give back a lot. Through the initiative called Buy One, Give One, literally for every new inquiry, whenever the phone rings with a new client, we're giving back. For every fee proposal sent, we give back. For every project started and completed, we're giving back. So we love the fact that we can give back.
When we first started the company, we had a house on the south side and we started with a laptop in the kitchen. We then decided to build a small office in the garage and we had a couple of really great guys working for us at the time. So in order to keep them, we decided to renovate our house. So we extended the house, built this beautiful home office which was big enough for 4 people, and then a baby came along. So we moved into a tin shed in Bowen Hills. It was a horrible office, and when you're trying to have a vision of a company that we transform spaces into inspiring environments and you're in a shed that it flooded, we were over the news. It was a freak water main that burst. It was 15 metres high into the air. So walking through an office that was ankle deep with water, and we knew in order to attract a world-class team, we had to do something about our space. We're going to do team exercise? Yes. Come on, guys. And we ended up holding a careers night in our old office, a room full of about 15 people, and we said to them, this isn't our office, this is just a temporary office. We have a dream office, it's being built as we speak, and it's a Google-inspired fit-out. We didn't have the dream office, we didn't have the dream fit-out, but we were trying to sell people the dream of what we wanted the company to be. It worked. We had a few people buy into it who are still with us today. And about a year later, we managed to secure our now dream office.
So it's really important to us the business follows through with the values, and including all of our staff and people in the business.
We have developed a visualised goal board of all of our future teams' dreams and goals, and it was placed strategically by the printer, so every day when our team get up and head to the printer, they're reminded of why they're here and how they can achieve their personal goals.
Some of the goals people have achieved already to date: booking holidays to Fiji, writing a book, getting a new car. Myself and Lauren, we've booked our holiday for the next sort of 12 months. The B1G1 initiative is a community where you give back and through all different initiatives. One of ours is every time a new project is completed, we save 1 square metre of the Daintree rainforest in Queensland. And another one is every time a new inquiry comes in, we give back 1 brick to help build a school in Kenya.
The early days, I remember one of the first jobs we won, it was a value of around $4,000, and we wanted to save the money, as much money as we could. So Aaron and I went into this client space on the weekend and cleaned, because that $100 odd we could put back into the company towards advertising and marketing. Everything in this business we've done ourselves, so if you need us to go and sweep the floors or clean the office or whatever it is, we'll put our hand up to do it.
Ahead on Industry Leaders, the 2 proud Aussies behind Lavosh, the original. Kurrajong Kitchen's co-founders Karen and Ben Lesanft began making the Armenian flatbread from their small restaurant in the lower Blue Mountains, then marketed their product to chefs.
In 1993, Ben, my husband, and myself started a little restaurant in Kurrajong. And it was this beautiful, gorgeous home surrounded by the Australian bush, a view back to Sydney. It was absolutely amazing. And we created an environment that locals used to come to. And we started to serve them some really good Australian food. But amongst that, we started to try some different types of things. And one of those things was lavosh. Customers wanted to use the product and take it home. It was something new and exciting to them. Kurrajong Kitchen did not invent lavosh, but we did bring it to the Australian consumer so that they could enjoy on their entertaining tables. So lavosh is actually not biscuits, although people think it's biscuits. Lavosh is actually Armenian flatbread. So every village would have had a different version of how they actually made it. But we made a traditional recipe and brought that to the Australian consumer. Of course, as somebody who loved to go out and dine, seeing this new sensation on their plate was unbelievable, and they loved to take it home, so we would bag it up in little packages, in little clear cellophane bags, pop it in a basket near the door, and at the end of the week's service, the basket was always empty. I am the CEO and co-founder of Kurrajong Kitchen, the co-founder being my husband Ben, and a day in the life of Kurrajong Kitchen these days is so much different to what it was like when it first began. But today you can smell the baking of the lavosh as you pass through the factory. So from there, we started baking 30 packets a week, jump into the little yellow van, go down from the lower Blue Mountains down to Sydney, sell our 30 packets a week. We would actually get $30 for our 30 packets a week. And from there, we would actually go and have the great big Chinese feed in Chinatown before we'd bought all our supplies for the restaurant and made the chug just back up to the mountains. So once a week entertainment and a start of how we actually could grow a brand. So in 1993, we were serving it on the plate in the restaurant. By 1997, we were juggling so many different parts of the business, a restaurant, a function centre, outside catering, and making lavosh in some downtime at a local bakery. So we had to make a decision. So our biggest decision and a turning point for this business was in 1997. We took a stand at Fine Food Australia, a big show across the food industry in Australia. And with that, a Coles concept store manager came along and said to us, love your product, your packaging won't work, and gave us a listing in Coles, and it's why this business is today, because we were ready to either walk away because it was second job, but we were able to actually continue on. If we fast forward a little bit, around about 2012, a couple of years after the GFC, we actually nearly lost the business, hook, line and sinker. And as I like to say really is, it was like the business, the house, the kids, the dogs, the grass. It was the soccer ball, everything was about to go. We dug deep and we managed to remodel our business, and we've come out the other end and we're still here 26 years on, and that is amazing to say. Continuous improvement is in our blood, and I think that comes a little bit from the hospitality sector, from coming from that space where you're always trying to look after people. Every time we create a product, a packet of lavash that goes out to a consumer from the shelf through to their table, we want to be actually behind that. So as if we're standing behind that. So that desire and that standard to achieve drives growth, and it's everybody on. And we're all going forward as a team, as a family, as a Currajong Kitchen family. You can't do anything without the team that surrounds you. So the success of growing the business has been about putting the right people in the right spots. I'm really proud to say that we're going to remain an Australian manufacturer. We have no intentions of moving from Australia, but let alone we're not moving from the Hawkesbury either. And that's very exciting, because at 26 years on, this brand deserves such an amazing future, and we're so proud to be able to give the Hawkesbury that and take it forward. In my final words, it would have to be, we are so proud to be Australian, an Australian family business, 26 years on now, talking to second generation consumers of lavash after explaining to their parents what the product was and bringing that to market. It's a very exciting journey in food, in innovation in Australia, and we're so proud to be part of it.
Still to come on Industry Leaders, a man who's passionate about cars and property. It's land that Jumelli Group owner and chairman Trent Jumelli develops. When he's not surfing or golfing, he applies the KISS theory to everything he does.
I'm 42 years young, grew up on the Central Coast in New South Wales, lived in Sydney for about 10 years, been living in beautiful Noosa Paradise for the last 10. When I was at school, I was a really good tech drawer, so that was the thing that got me started in property. I always wanted to be an architect. However, I failed school pretty hard, pretty miserably actually, and I always knew that I'd be in it, and I started trial and error through different motions. So, I started investing in property, learning as much as I could to get through the process. And I didn't have a lot of capital to start with. In fact, I had zero. So like every other human being, I had to go to mum and dad and ask for money and go that path. And slowly but surely, we just worked through that. I found the art of leverage, leveraging money the way it should be leveraged and using it as a tool for what it is. And subsequently, we're able to build and get to where we're at today, which is exactly the same model. It's just done in a different way. So we started back in 2006. I started as a finance firm for Wizard Home Loans. We basically found the extents of a franchise very, very fast, and we moved and progressed from there. The services that we provide as a business is a coaching and mentoring position, which is called our Palladium program. It's a quasi-apprenticeship style of learning, so there's a theoretical standpoint of what we do, but then you've also got the on-the-job training as well. The clients actually get to transact on a live project, so they've actually put their money into a project. They can see what's going on from start to finish. They can see all the nuances, all the positives, all the negatives that go on, you know, the time delays and stuff around councils, etc. All the training that comes to when you combine the theoretical with the actual practical, just like a plumbing apprenticeship or an electrical apprenticeship. You go to TAFE, you learn the theoretical stuff, but you go to the job, you learn all the tricks. And that's the key to what we do. But more importantly is the 50-50 profit share out the back. Money in the bank at the moment, you might get maybe 3%. You know, our minimum is 25% per annum, where we've got clients who are seeing, you know, well in excess of 50% to 80%, sometimes over 100. I personally have seen over 400% return on cash in a project. Having a relationship with people to be able to achieve the same goal, and it's really, really important for us. We have no competition in the marketplace today. No one actually does what we do, which is a really unique position to be in, and again, something I'm hugely grateful for, because it just makes our life so much easier at the end of the day. We lived on the beach, so I was surfing pretty much every day. My grandparents lived in Bungendore down in Canberra, so I got to live on the farm at the same point in time. So we had a great upbringing. Like I can't complain. I was training to be a pro golfer when I was younger, playing a hell of a lot. So surfing for me is just pure relaxation. Absolutely love it. But golf was, you know, it's a very technical game. It's a very, you know, you're playing against yourself. Me splitting myself into 1,000 pieces is me bringing myself into a focal point. So I absolutely learnt heaps through golf. I always had a vision of where I was going to be. Don't know how, but I remember 14, 15 having pictures and images of Porsches on the wall. Took me 27 years, but I got one. And from a business aspect, I've always had this figure in my head of $100 million, and we hit that number in January of this year on the balance sheet. So what we're doing with our program is giving people the opportunity to get involved in what I had many, many years of training and learning and things like that without the risk of losing their money. That's a big part of what we do. Whatever we can achieve and help society become, you know, a better group, that we're all for it. That's what drives us deeply. My wife and I in particular, you know, we're really, really passionate about that, and also teaching our daughters to do exactly the same thing, you know. And I heard of one thing which I absolutely loved, and I'm going to do it at some point in time. There was a lady in America, I think it was just after the GFC or something like that, at Christmas, went into Toys R Us and basically paid out all the lay-bys, which for me always brings tears to my eyes, because I think that's just such a monumental thing to do. It's not hard. It wasn't, you know, she probably put $100,000 down at the end of the day, but it would have been so monumental to a lot of families to be able to have the ability to do that, and that's where we're at now. Now, there was two things I was always passionate about, which was cars and property. All right, I still race cars and do all the funky things around that, but property was the big thing for me, and I was always so passionate about it. But so for anyone who is looking to do any business whatsoever, or whatever they want to choose to do in life, is just don't falter from what you want to do. You know, just make sure that you continually use your boards, you know, your vision boards and all that sort of stuff. Stick things up in your car or wherever it is. Just make sure that you continually follow your path to be doing and achieve what you want to be doing.
Stay tuned to Industry Leaders to meet a bloke with an engineering degree who wants to make a difference through electronics design and software. Successful Endeavour's Managing Director Ray Keefe wants to change the economy with Australian-made smart products.
When I was young, I thought it'd be really cool to be an astronaut, but I was always excited about space, and space really represented the future, where we were going, what we were going to do. So that kind of started my journey of thinking about, what could I do to make a difference? I did 1 year of a science degree because when astronaut turned out to be not really on the table as a career offering, I thought, well, I'll get into science and learn about physics, maths, chemistry, stuff like that. And I realised at the end of that year, I had no idea what I was going to do with a science degree. So I took a year off and I joined a pub band and learned to play guitar. What I did discover though was that our gear was rubbish, because when you're not very good or you don't have a reputation, you can't afford good gear. And I thought to myself, surely somebody can design better gear than this. And that's what led me to thinking about, well, how do you learn to do that? So I went back to my university in Geelong, Deakin University at Warm Ponds, and I said, if I want to learn how to design electronics, what do I do? And they go, well, you need to do an engineering degree in electrical engineering. So I went back and did an engineering degree. This time I did it on purpose. I knew why I was doing it, and I was keen and I was hungry to learn. The driving force came out of my understanding that the big corporates and multinationals in Australia in 1996 only produced 2% of the employment. When I looked at where the employment was, it was smaller businesses, and I was working at the time for a brilliant business called Invitech. They did fantastic work, but very expensive, high end of town, only really bringing success to the big multinationals and the big corporates. So I thought about what it would take to try and bring that kind of quality of product development service to the smaller end of the market. When I decided to do this, it really came out of me being asked to move on from my role at Invitech. Jeanette, my wife who runs the business with me, came home one day to Jeanette, and we were engaged at the time, and said, I don't have a job anymore. And Jeanette said, how does that affect the wedding? I said, it doesn't. She said, that's fine then. And so she left it all with me to sort out. And so I just had this idea I wanted to make a difference, and I didn't want to make a difference according to someone else's agenda. I had my own idea. But it took 10 years to actually go from that thought and then starting the company together to beginning to actually see some fruit from the hard work. Primary services, electronics design and embedded software development. So embedded software means the software that runs under the covers of the product. So for instance, there are cameras being used here. They've got software running inside them. Even the lights have got software running inside them these days. We also do external software like on web services for devices that need to talk to other devices. So Internet of Things is what it's called these days. So they're the primary services. Along with that, you get project management, you get research and investigatory activities. Some of the things we do haven't been done before in the history of the world. You cannot Google the answer to that. You've actually got to go and you've got to research the existing knowledge, and then you've got to do prototypes and testing. So that whole front end prototype testing, proof of concept work we also do. And then at the back end, we can build prototypes and we can also do small scale production runs. Some of our customers get us to actually do all their production for them. So we manage the logistics of that. We work everywhere from really big multinationals like ABB down to one-man bands. We run what the Harvard Business School would call a hot team model. So a small number of highly talented people working together to do something, and that's one of the ways that we keep efficient and also price affordable. Our point of difference in the market is twofold. One, we really do focus on the customer getting the outcome they need, but the bigger difference, which is changing the Australian economy, is what I want to do. So there are a few people who've inspired me. One example is Bill Gates. Bill Gates at the age of 19 said he wanted to be rich enough to be able to make a really big difference, to be able to give more than half of his wealth away. Mother Teresa would be another example of someone who's just poured her life into something essential. My father passed away a number of years ago. He was someone who was also a giver. What I learned from him was that making a difference was worth the effort it took to care and to follow through. It wasn't an easy journey, and it wasn't one Mark thought we were actually necessarily capable of when we started, but it was the best thing that we did at the time because it gave us the skill set we needed. Once we became competent at business as a skill set, then suddenly a whole bunch of other things became possible. Obviously I want to keep making a difference, so we're going to keep growing as a team. We do invest in some of the opportunities, so some of the products that go on the market, our clients can't actually fund them. But there's a clear business case. So we only work on stuff that's making the world a better place.